Hello everyone, this is Debbie from Ink and Page, and I'm here today with a brand new project for you guys. This is a fun book called The Dictionary of the Uncanny. It's a little mini book here, and I thought I would give you guys a quick look at it before we jump into the printables and how to put this together. This is kind of like our Tiny Tales, so it's available in my Etsy shop right now. It's very simple to put together. It has a very simple construction. It's not super complicated. It's a great project for beginners. So let's jump. Oops, threads everywhere. Let's jump into it. Now this is a Halloween themed sort of book, but it could be used for almost any gothic project, anything you want to add some mystery to, throughout the year, and especially if Halloween's not your thing. It's not overly Halloweeny, but in honor of Halloween, this is what I've created. So let me go through the printables with you guys really quickly. This is available in my Etsy shop right now, and I will put the link in the description below. And the printables for this are surprisingly easy to cut out. Unlike a lot of my kits, there's not a lot of complicated cutting in this one because it's a book. So I'm very excited to share this with you. This here is the title page, and this is one of the end pages for the book. This is for the cover, okay? This is the cover here. This black is the cover. These are the end papers for the kit, and it's this toile pattern that is like Halloween. It's got skeletons and it's in a graveyard, but it's still a little bit cheeky because these ones are having a picnic, so it's just cute. And then these are the spines, so there's going to be 2 signatures. This is a spine template, and there's also a book plate in there for you. And these are the pages for the book. So you have 3 different sets to choose from, okay? You need 3 sets for each signature. So you could print 1 of each of these pages and that would cover you, but if you want your pages to all be plain, you could just print 3 of these, or print 3 of these if you want the spider webs and the distressed here, or if you want the damask pattern. So it just kind of depends. You'll see when I put mine together, I used a mix because I always think that's the most fun, to use a little bit of everything. And then here are the definitions. Now, there's a mix of things in here. There are some more fantastical things like Wraith Song and Moon Veil, and then some more mundane, mundane's probably the wrong word, but more like earthly type things like a haunted mansion, or the witching hour, things like that. But then there's also these imaginative ones like Blood Veil, Hollow Light, and they all have definitions that go with them. Like Hollow Light is the eerie glow of lanterns carved from gourds, guiding both wanderers and wayward souls. And then you have like Fang Root, Lament Hollow, Cinderfall. Here's, like I said, the Haunted Mansion and the Witch's Cauldron, but then you've got like Thornwake and Shadowmourne. Thornwake is the sudden stirring of bramble and briar as they rise to defend the creatures of the night. So kind of just like a mysterious vibe to that. And then we have some, Candlelit, Crypt, Pumpkin Moon, Phantom Lantern, Goblin Market. So there's a bunch of different, these are all just fun little definitions, to add that kind of like, spooky flavor to just about anything. The other thing I was thinking is that even though these are the definitions for this dictionary, if you printed these smaller, they would make fantastic ephemera, just the little cards, which is why I designed this the way that I did, so that these would be layered onto the pages instead of just printing them like directly on the pages. So it would be more like, it would be also more, attractive to look at, because there'll be a whole layered process here to put these on, but also it extends the usage of these as well. Okay, so for papers, we have, this is the end paper, which is the skeletons in the graveyard. and it's the 12 pattern. And this actually comes in 2 versions. the dark one and a light one, because this is the one I used for the spine. I used it for both the interior and the exterior spine. So I wanted to give you all of the papers that I used in the creation of this book, so that if you wanted to make additions or changes, you could. Like if you wanted to use this for your end papers instead of the ones that I made, you could do that. There's this pretty, these are the ones that I used for the pages, so I wanted to make sure you had those as well. This is a little bit different than the one I used for the pages, but it's similar. Because I had the whole page, I put like some little ghosty spiders on there and stuff like that. And this is the plain paper that I used. And then I also included a black paper, which I know is kind of crazy, but if you don't have black cardstock or you don't have black paper in your house, this, you know, this could come in handy. And I actually use this quite a bit in mine, so I'll show you how I did that. I'm going to show you how I prepped all my pages and what my plan is too. So we'll hop into that next. Okay, so here we go with how this is what I did for my prep. What we're going to be doing is making 2 signatures, okay, and it's going to be 6 pages from the kit each. I also added a vellum page. If you don't want to add a vellum page to yours, or you could use one of the other papers in the kit instead. I just chose vellum because I like vellum, you know, I like the way it looks in my kits, but I know it may not be for everybody. So if you don't have it or you don't want to use it, please just use one of the other papers in the kit, or you could just print yourself an extra page of these pages that were in there and use those instead. So you would need 4 total for the signature if you're not going to include the vellum. Okay, so I have these all sorted out. I did not, you know, put a lot of thought into it, just so like it's just basically the pages folded together, and I just kind of put them together. I didn't really think about it. I just did it. So because they're all pretty similar, so the only thing I did was make sure that 2 of the same pages weren't next to each other. So that was my only criteria. Okay, so these are all the definitions, okay? So what I did with these is I distressed the edge with this, which is a paper distressor. This just allows you to easily rough up the edges of your page. It does a pretty decent job. You can see how fat my pile is because of the distressor makes everything fluff up a lot. Okay, it almost looks like a deckled edge on here. So I did distress the edges of each one of these with this here. If you don't have this, you can use the edge of the scissors, or you don't even need to do it at all. I just wanted to do it to create additional lift and some texture on my page, okay? So these are the definitions. Now, I also took the black paper and I cut it with a decal trimmer, okay? Now the decal trimmer is just what gives it a bumpy edge. They also make scissors that do this. I think it would probably be a lot harder with scissors to do this. But I decal trimmed the edge, and then I dipped the edges of the paper into mica stain, which is flickering candle. This stuff is like literal magic. I love it so much. I mean, you can see the gold on the edge of these. It's amazing. This one I got a little carried away on, but you can see how amazing it looks. So I'm just going to quickly show you how I did that. Just, you know, so I'm not like skipping a step here, because I saved a couple and didn't do all of them. I just didn't think you needed to watch me do like 24. So I cut 24 black pieces of paper out. I printed it, 6 times. I printed the black paper 6 times. This is 32-pound paper, okay, that I printed this backing on. And I printed this on 100-pound cardstock. Everything else is printed on 100-pound cardstock except this paper. And the reason I did that is because I didn't want to create bulk in my book with this paper. Okay, so I'm just going to grab my little craft mat here. Or maybe it's big. And my little papers that I need to do here. The nice thing about it is it covers up most of my desk. I think I'll do it this way so that it doesn't curl up. Okay, so all I did for this, and there's probably 20 different things you could use to do this with. There's like, you know, gilding paste, there's embellishment mousse, there's all kinds of stuff. I just happen to really love this flickering candle. Well, you could tell it's all over my hands. As usual, my hands are totally stained with ink. But you know, that just means that, you know, good crafting was going on. Okay, so I just spray this down on the mat. And then you just dip the edges in. Just like this. And you can see it's starting to come up on the edge of the trim of the page. And then I just wanted to get it around the edge so there'd be a little bit of glimmer in the book. You know how like a lot of old books have gilded edges, so it's kind of like that. This isn't going to be, you know, technically the edge of the page, but I thought it'd be nice to have that little bit of extra shine in the book. Plus, it was just an excuse to use this because it's so pretty, and you know, I just want to use it in everything. So let's try to see how many projects I can get it into. I really wanted to include a bunch of different colors, but I was like, you got to restrict yourself to one because I didn't want it to look crazy. But that decayed color is amazing. Oops, I think this needs a little bit more. Sometimes. But yeah, like, see, so like I didn't want you know, I didn't want to have to do like 24 on here. But it's super easy. I just got a whole bunch on that one. But you could also use any sort of shimmery thing that you have, or you could just use a different color ink, or even if you had metallic watercolors, I think almost, you know, anything like that would work. I'm just going to put these guys up here. They dry very fast because you just put like a very little bit, you know, on them. I just figure I'd do a little bit extra. I couldn't decide if I wanted to put it on my cover or not. I eventually decided not to, but, you know, I didn't want to overdo it because I felt like I wanted it to be like a hint, you know, in my project, not like an overwhelming thing. Like, sometimes I think restraint is, you know, it's a useful thing in crafting, because, you know, you could go all crazy, because I did want to go all crazy with this, but I want it to be very dictionary-y and, you know, be like a little mysterious book, you know. Okay, so we're going to start here with our spine, and this is the inner spine with the holes, and the outer spine has no holes. Okay, so what we're going to do here is poke these out of the spine here. Just be careful you don't have your finger behind there when you're doing it. You can also poke this over the book too. I'm going to use the book in a second to do my signatures, but okay, yeah, so there's that. And then there's also this, which is the spine template. So you want to just poke a hole in there as well. So you have those all pre-poked. Okay, there we go. All right, I made this ridiculously thin, so if you want to cut it out a little bit bigger, as long as you cut it here and here, you're fine. It can be as wide as you want it to be. This, sometimes, you know, you're dealing with constraints of one thing or another. Okay, so I'm going to fold this in half, and then so that I have like a pre-creased situation. And then we'll do the signatures really quick. I have mine already sorted. We just need to clip them. All right, so I got that all folded. I got my holes in there. I just want to make sure that they're wide enough. And then we can move on to our signature here. Okay, so, okay, first thing I'm going to do here is, oh, I wanted to show you a couple of things here. I had mentioned in a previous video, I know there's always a lot of questions about signatures. And one of the questions that I had mentioned in my previous video on signatures was about needles and needle size and that affecting the hole size in your signatures. And I just wanted to show you an example here. This needle is going to poke a huge hole, okay? And you're going to end up with huge holes in your signatures, and it won't be as attractive. It's not the end of the world. It's just not as attractive. However, they make these thinner ones that, you know, they still have a decent sized eye to get the thread through. But this is just way too big. You can tell because it's like a blunt tip needle. This is something like I would generally use to weave in ends on knitting. So I just wanted to, I found this needle while I was getting this needle out. And so I thought I'd just point out the difference in this video, just to give you an idea of, you know, what kinds of needles are good and what are not so good. Okay, so here we go. All right, so for this, what we want to do is make sure everything is settled down. And then we're going to go ahead and clip this on all four, okay? Just to make sure that everything stays together. Because this is a mini book, you could probably get away with just clipping on one side, you know, one on each side. But, you know, why not be thorough, right? If you did the Librarian's Lantern, this is going to be a little bit like that. It's a little different because there's not the same number of signatures, but it is kind of the same process. It's the same process as making, you know, just like a regular journal too. And if you don't want to sew your signatures, please feel free, you know, you can use whatever binding makes you happy for this. Okay, so I'm going to grab my book here and I'm going to open it up and we're going to just use this to help punch our holes. So I'm going to get these guys so that I accidentally put all my clips in the same spot. So I'm just going to move these out a little bit. That'll let these, like, you know, sit together. If you use paper clips, you won't have this problem. The Bulldog clips are a lot harder to lose, you know what I mean? Like, they don't end up on my floor. So, okay, so wait, I'm gonna check my signatures here. I just want to make sure I have everything facing the right way. Okay, that one goes this way, and this one goes this way. Okay. All right, I'll get all this all set. All right, now you just get those guys kind of set down into each other. And then we're going to pop this little spine template in there. Kind of get it oriented. And I need my awl. And I'm just going to start poking the holes. This kind of helps you get the holes, like, in the fold, too. There we go. Right, now we have our holes all done. Put this away. And we'll just hop right into making the cover now. Okay, so we're going to get started on our exterior cover. And I'm going to do this in this order just so this has a minute to dry before we start putting the whole thing together, okay? So what I'm going to do here is I am going to put the glue down. And then I will put the cover here, right up to that line there. I inked it so it will be easier to see. For glue, I am using Nuvo glue in the My Sweet Petunia glue press. I haven't mentioned this in a while, and yeah, I know that like not a lot of people have seen it, so I just want to mention it is amazing, and a lot of people will tell you in the comments, because I know there's a bunch of other users, that it is great if you have hand pain. It's available at scrapbook.com, and the link is in the description below. I don't have like an affiliate link or anything for this, but that is where I got mine, so that's where I'm linking you to. I'm sure it's available at other places, but I do know for sure it's available at scrapbook.com. Okay, so the front is the tomb with the bird, and then the back is just the 2 little tombstones in the corner. Okay, and then this is here, just a little bit glue. I want to make sure I get a good amount. So that goes on there. And then this is just going to go right up to here. All right, and there we go. All right, so now we have our spine here. Okay, I'm going to sew my signatures in here really quickly. So let's get some thread. I took all my clips off except for 2 to make it easier. 1. Okay, so I did 3 for each, and then an extra just to make sure I had enough. Okay, now we're going to sew our signatures onto our interior spine. Okay, so I have my needle here, and I have my thread. I did 3 lengths of the spine for each signature, and a little bit of extra just in case. Okay, so what we're going to do here for this one is we are going to go to our template here, and we're going to stick the needle through here in the middle, right in the middle, and then through the middle of the signature as well. Okay, now did I check? I need to make sure, because sometimes they spin. When you put the needle in, you can inadvertently spin your book around, your signature around, and then all of a sudden you're sewing it to the wrong one. Okay, so this is correct. Okay, and then I'm going to put it through the top here. Just do a little wiggle, wiggle. Get that through. And then through the top signature here. Oh, to the top hole, I'm sorry. Okay, and then through the bottom. And then we're just going to go back through the middle again. Okay, you want to come up on the opposite side of the thread than where you started. So this is my starting, and so my other thread is going to come up on this side here. Now, if you were going to if you want to sew your signatures in separately, you would tie it off here. Okay, I'm not going to tie mine off because I want to sew mine in consecutively. So now I'm just going to add this here, needle right in the middle. The reason I'm not tying a knot here, even though I'm going consecutively, because it makes it easier to tighten the threads if you have, you know, a loose end on each side when you're doing it consecutively like this. Okay. All right, so I went through the middle there, and I need to go through the middle of the second signature here. Okay. Make sure that's the right way. Okay, and now we are going in the top here. This is the top. I should have put a directional paper in the middle, huh? So that I would know. Okay, wiggle. Okay, I'm just going to wiggle this guy through here. Oops. And then I'm going to go through the top hole here. Okay, and then I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom. I lost track of my needle there. All the way down to the bottom here. Through this bottom, and then through the bottom on the spine, and then the bottom on the signature. Nice. And then the middle, and then up through the middle here, and it should come up on the opposite side of the thread where you started. I did not want to go through there. Okay, all right, so now I'm just going to do this. Make sure everything's tight. And then just do a visual check here on the signatures. Make sure everything looks nice and also tight. Okay, because this is your chance to tighten everything up. And then you're going to tie the knot here. You might want to leave a little bit bigger of a tail than I did, but all right, so I'm just going to tie these two together. And then I'll dot some glue on there. All right, and then we're going to do our signature gluing into the actual spine. Could have gone a little shorter there. Okay, because I don't want to have any, I don't want to have too much bulk in there. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now I've got this spine and this spine, and they go in like this together. Like so. I got a little bit of overrun down there somehow. My paper cutter gave me so much trouble tonight. I cannot even tell you. Okay, I'll trim that off. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this in here. Okay, so what we're going to do is just glue that down into the little cradle right here. Okay, so I'm just going to glue. And then I'm going to match these guys up. Always check. Oh, I forgot. I had an idea. You know what I wanted to do? And I can still do it. I wanted to glue seam binding in between here. So that I could have like a little, what do you call it? Like a bookmark. All right, so I'm going to put glue on there. I'm sorry. I totally forgot about that. I just thought it would be really cute, and then just make sure everything can bend here and that everything's kind of lined up so that nothing's crooked or anything like that, because this is your big chance to kind of wiggle things around if you need to. Okay. All right. And I'll just trim off my, this is seam binding that I dyed with, I think it was black soot, distress spray. And I mixed it with a little bit of water, so I think that's why, I mean, it dyes a little bit lighter on the seam binding, but I'm wondering if I could cut that too. That's cool. All right, so I'm gonna just leave that for right now while this dries. And while this dries, we're gonna go do something else, okay? So I'm gonna put my pages together. Okay, so the way that I have this organized is I went ahead and cut and dipped all these pages so that I could put these on here like this, okay, so that they would be mounted with a black trim around them. Now, you do not have to do that. You can, and you could use anything underneath these as well. I mean, I thought about like possibly including maybe some thread or something like that, or you could sew around it if you wanted to. I had to choose. It was either dip the ink or sew, so I picked dip the ink. But if you want to add some thread or fabric or mummy cloth or something like that, you could add that like underneath here. Like, you don't need to sew to add thread. You know, you could just add it in with, you know, with glue. If you want to have like thread coming out of your book, this is a great place to add it into. So basically what I'm going to do here is I think I'm going to use a glue stick for speed. And also it'll get my cards less wet. And also I will do a couple and then I'll speed you up through the rest of them so that you don't have to, you know, watch me glue 24 of these guys. Okay, so I'm going to grab my glue stick and get started. Also, if you wanted to add any other kind of embellishments, you could do that at this point as well. I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of thread probably behind a couple of these. I won't do all of them. I'm just going to try to do a few of them and then see how that goes. And then if I want to add more, I can add more afterwards as well. So it doesn't have to all be underneath. And I think what I'm going to do too is I'm going to glue it and then I'm going to probably end up trimming some of it just to make it easier for me to get that down. All right, I'm going to grab a, oh, I do have this. Okay, so I'm just going to use this to kind of give it some pressure because, you know, when you're gluing, the pressure makes such a big difference on like it adhering like in the long term. I just thought it would be easier to do the glue stick here. So I'm just going to put these on. I am not going to alphabetize my words because I just think that makes, you know, it's just, I feel like it matches the vibe of the whole project is to not have them in order. You know what I mean? Like somebody, like all the pages fell out and somebody put them back in and they didn't do it right. So that is the story that I'm going with here for this one. I should probably have gotten a bunch of thread ready. Now that the pages are all mounted, I am going to glue in my end papers, okay? Oops. I need to do a little glue job. I forgot to glue the flaps on this too, which is fine because we're going to have to glue over these anyway, so we might as well do that right now. So just go ahead and just put some glue on here. And, oops, there we go. Just smooth this guy out. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to put a little extra glue in there. I'm knocking everything over tonight. Okay, now I'm just going to glue these guys down here. I just want to make sure I got my crease there. Okay. Okay. All right, now we're going to do the end papers, which are these guys here. I'm going to do my little hybrid method here with the glue stick and the wet glue together, just to get my nice even coverage on the back of the end paper there. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on here around the edges of the white, PVA glue. And then flip this guy over. And we're going to put that right into the crease there. It's a little harder to see. All right, I'm just lining everything up here. I just want to make sure that I don't have my end paper over my crease. And then I have it relatively centered. There we go. That looks pretty good. Now I'm going to press it down. And then I'm just going to do the same thing on the front. And then what I want to do is go around and rough up my edges and then ink the outside of the book. Like, see how it's white right here? I want to get rid of all that. Okay, so now I'm just going to go ahead and do the same thing here. And put the glue, the white glue down here. And I'll just do the edges. And then I will pop this guy on here. Just making sure I'm getting it on the right way. Kind of lining everything up there. You can kind of just look at it and see if you're getting it lined up too. And it's right up to the line there. Go here and do this. Okay, now that that is done, there's gonna be a lot of gluing tonight. I've already like almost burned through a whole glue stick. Okay, so okay, this is the page distressor, and then what I'm gonna just do with this is just kind of go around my edges here, just to make this look a little bit more old. Oops. I don't want to pull that apart. And then I'm just going to clip this right here. Normally I would wait to do this, but since, the show must go on, so I'm just going to keep going. There we go. Okay, so now lid on the glue, and I'm just going to grab my inker here. This is my black one. In order to get a good edge on these, especially after you use the paper distresser, I do think it's super helpful to just put it down and go along the edges as much as you can. The dome tool is even better. I'm not sure where I put mine, unfortunately. If you have like a domed one, they work really good on these edge pieces. Let me flip this over. Because if you try to do it the other way, it just, like holding it, it's a lot harder to get the ink like exactly where you want it to go. I'm just going to clean that ink up so I don't get it all over my book. Although I do want it to be a little bit distressed. Okay, and now I'm going to do this side of the whole process. I want to be extra careful here because I don't want to get too much black on the inside of the cover. On the like actual front piece, I don't really care as much because it's black already. Okay. All right. Okay, so let's take a quick look at what we have for our cover. I'm going to move all these things aside here. Okay, so now these are the things you kind of have to decide on your placement. This is going to go on the cover here. Sorry, I don't even have it in the... Okay, so this is going to go on the cover here, like this. Okay. And you can, if you don't like the background, you can take that off. I'm debating on the gold on the edge of that. And then you also have your book plate, your title page, and the title page is just going to go right in here when you open it. You could put your book plate here. And then this one is for the back, for the last page here. Okay. All right, so let's glue these two together. My book is very damp, so I'm gonna lean on the glue stick here for that. And I think I might get the... I'm just gonna get the flickering candle really quick and just do the edges of this. I'll just do it right here on the glass mat, so it doesn't have to be a big production. The ink behaves differently on the matte versus the glass. This, before, I don't know if you noticed, but it had the actual like droplets. This has more of like a puddle. Okay, so now I'm going to put this down that this, I got the little bit of gold on there. And there's black ink on there too, so it's kind of like a double layer situation. And now I can glue this on the cover. I'm going to double up my glue here. So I'm going to put all of this, and then I'm just going to put a little bit of the PVA around the edges here. Just for a little insurance policy. Like, I find this, you know, the Scotch permanent glue stick to be very reliable, but I always get nervous, you know, especially on a cover. Okay, so I need to place this down. Okay, so then we've got that. And that means we can open it up in here. If you didn't want to put your book plate there, you could always put it on the inside of the vellum as well. I did ink the edges of my vellum to make it look a little bit dirtier. Okay, so this, I'm fairly confident that this glue will dry clear, so you won't see it through the vellum. We're going to see what happens. here because I'm just going to spread this out. If it does show through, I'll put something on the back of this. Okay, so then this is just going to get centered on here. It doesn't have to be perfect because you remember your book is old. So I was trying not to be perfect about mounting all my pages because, you know, it's true, it's old. It's hard to cover this up because it is, I love that little skeleton pattern so much. Okay, where's my, oh, there it is. Okay. All right, I am going to put my cover in here. And I'm going to glue it on like a pocket, even though I don't have anything to put in it yet. I just like to always leave my options open. Here, so I'm going to glue this on like a pocket just on 3 sides. I'll put that on here. Okay, now comes the fun part. Gluing in all the pages. That is definitely going to need something on the back of it. I could always put my raven here on the back of it. Okay, I'm going to do this at the end. I'm going to wait till this dries because I don't like how that looks. Okay, I don't know why I didn't think about the back of it when I was printing this. I should have maybe printed something on the back of it. So that's a lesson learned there. Okay, so I've got all of these and I need to put them in. I'm not sure what's going to go where, but I think I'm just going to get like let luck determine it here, and also get a glue stick for that. Okay, this is my second glue stick of the night. I'm going to go to the Uhu one because it's bigger and I burned through that other one. So here we go. This is also permanent and also reliable. So okay. And now I'm just going to glue all these guys in here. And then I'm going to come back, I think, and do put the raven on there. I think once all these pages get in here, this is going to be pretty chubby. And pretty cool. And it's nice with the binding, you know, it lies flat, so it'll be easy to put everything in. Oops. I'm going to move this one to here. I just want to make sure I'm not putting, you know, too close together. Okay. Let's see what we got here. Okay, I really love this ribbon here. I don't think I'm gonna cut it, actually. I think I'm just gonna leave it for right now and then decide what to do. But I did get all my pages glued in, so I just wanted to kind of, oops, go through here and do like a little flip through with you guys here. Because that basically brings us kind of to the end of this. Once all your pages are glued in, you're good to go. Now, could be more decorating in here, because one of the things I thought too was I might do, like, I could come through here and put these like die cuts in here. I could definitely put more thread and lace and stuff like that in here too. But I kind of like the simplicity of it. I did put a bunch of thread in the back of it here. So I just like the way that it looks when you have it closed, and it's got all this stuff coming out the top and the bottom of it. So I might add more thread, but I think that's, for right now, I'm pretty happy with how it looks. So I hope you guys enjoyed this project, and if you have any questions, put them in the description below. If you enjoyed the video, I would appreciate it if you would like it, and subscribe if you haven't already. And I will have another chapter of the Wraithwood Family album on Monday, and we will be doing the cover, which is going to be super fun. So there we go, and that's the end.